My dear children and royals of Africa, let's go ahead and move on to another amazing patriarch. Okay, with the same level of excitement, I am introducing Dani. Yes, my dear children, Dani. He's another important Monkosi in the nation of Israel. This is the from whom we get our best judges, our best lawyers, anything that has to do with legal. They are the children of Dani. That's what our elders, our priests, and our historian tells us. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's introduce Dani properly. Dani was the 9th son of Patriarch Jacob. He was the first son of matriarch Rachel maid. Her name was Bilhah. Okay, and Dani is the traditional progenitor of the tribe of Dan. All right. So now let's go back in history. Let's look into the biblical context surrounding his birth. In Genesis 30, verse 6, it is said that then Rachel said, God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son. Because of this, she named him Dan. This, by the way, is one of the most visible tribes in Africa. Right after the tribe of Judah, Dan is very populated. So there are many descendants of the tribe of Dan in West Africa and Central Africa, but many are ignorant and they do not know who they are because of what the prophecy in the Bible predicts. So keep in mind that Israel has lost their inheritance. They had been stripped of their possession. That is our identity, our place as the chosen people of God. That identity had been stripped off from us by a group of ungodly people. That's what it means. You can read it in the book of Obadiah, where it says that it is prophesied that at the end of the time the Israelite will take back its possessions. So to those of us smart enough to actually understand what the Bible says, stop going around spreading the lies of your former masters. The attack against Africa has everything to do with this. So they lost their heritage to an ungodly group of people called Edom, which today is known as Europe, the European, because the European are the descendant of Edom, precisely the Romans. It may shock or surprise whomever it may shock or surprise, but it is the truth. Our elders tells us that it is one of the descendants of Edom who was called Roma, who is the ancestor of the Romans. That's what we are taught. So they are the ones who led the plundering of the people of Israel. It is no secret to anyone who is educated on the topic that the European or the group we know as NATO today are the ones who took possession of the inheritance of Israel to make it their own. Hence, the expected return of the king who will restore his kingdom. Okay? And surprisingly also enough, we know the role the Catholic Church has played in the bringing down and the keeping down of Africa. So basically, the war was against God's people because God's doctrine, the rulership of God on earth had to go. So strangely enough, they brought a religion and replaced everything we know that Tata Nzambe taught our ancestors with their religion. So, and you could see interestingly enough how they build, a multi-billion-dollar industry based on faith. Interesting. So let's move forward. Now let's go and look into the Bantu names of that beloved patriarch of ours and found out the meaning. So now in Kikongo, we say Dana, which means to judge. From the root Dana comes the name Dani, the judge. All right? So Dani has two meanings. It means the judge, and it also means the serpent, but not in a pejorative sense. Okay, let me tell you more about that. For us, the Kikongo, the verb dana, to judge, and the name Dani, the judge. But when we use Dani, we can also refer to the brass serpent. The interpretation of the brass serpent in its biblical context, the one we call Jesus, Isaiah Kongola, it refers to him, the brass serpent. It refers to Jesus in his role as judge. That's why the Kikongo tie these two together. So in other words, Dani means the serpent, and it also means the judge. So in the biblical meaning of serpent, all right, the biblical meaning of serpent is the wise one, okay? He who embodies wisdom, the one who judges with wisdom. So when they refer to Jesus as the brass serpent, it's in his role as a judge, okay? So Dani is the one who judges with wisdom, the one who embodies wisdom, referring to the brass serpent. Why do Jesus? Because Jesus is equipped with divine wisdom. He's the wise one. He's the one who embodies wisdom. He's the one who judges with wisdom. And the serpent is referred to as a very wise animal. Jesus himself told us to be as wise as serpent, as vigilant as serpent. So the serpent that they talk about in the Bible, it's the brass serpent. When in the Bible we talk about the brass serpent, we're talking about Jesus. The brass serpent, you guys, sometimes, I'm sure you have seen, sometimes they put him on a cross, sometimes it's on a pole. It's called the brass serpent. He represents wisdom. Jesus himself told us to be as wise. Some people interpret it as crafty, but in the spiritual sense of the serpent is wisdom. That's what our elders teach us. And again, when the people who came to conquer your land, if their king writes a book, run from that book. It will mess you up with just little words. It will make you fear things that are supposed to be positive to you, because the serpent is important for us Africans, especially the kings, the royals. That's the reason why every African king or queen are equipped with a staff which represent the brass serpent, the divine wisdom we receive directly from God. Okay? The wise one, the one who judges with wisdom. Okay, Moses had one because he was leading a bunch of crazy people out of the wilderness. So you need tons of wisdom to deal with the issue we kings and queens deal with. So that's why they carry. And in the Bible, the serpent, not the snake, the serpent refers to Isaiah himself, Jesus himself, in his role as a judge, because he who judges with wisdom, he who embodies wisdom is a Dani, okay, or Dan. All right, okay. Now I will also tell you about the snake. There's a big difference. In the pejorative sense of the word, it doesn't refer to as serpent, it refers to as snake. Snake is not a serpent. In the pejorative sense, we refer to snake, okay? And snake in the Bible, it's a direct indication of Satan. When it comes to referring to Satan, we use a word which is nyoka, okay? Nyoka. The Fang people, the tribe I'm from, we call snake, we say nyo. We use nyoka, which means the rejected, the fallen, the banished one. Because as we know, is that Satan was driven out of heaven and cast down on earth. Our people must have a clear understanding of it, because there's a lot of fallacies the settlers have put out there in order to drive us further and further away from who we are, and the weapons, the thing we need to work with, because that serpent, as you know it as well, is a weapon. The snake refers to Satan and the serpent refers to Jesus. But they of course had to make you run from anything that could be meaningful. You know, they make you hate the serpent, but we know the serpent is our scepters. So us, Bantu kings and queens. So if they told you it's bad, you don't know what it means, you're gonna run from it. You just run from power. serpent. When you see me with my serpent, is the brass serpent that we get from Tatanzambe himself. The divine wisdom we receive directly from God. So here's the difference.